Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're taking a closer look at, well, book titles.
Look on
Yeah,
titles.
book titles. So, we got some really fascinating excerpts from literary criticism, and it turns out a lot of folks are curious about those titles we see all the time. Specifically, how many famous authors kind of, borrowed their book titles from older works.
Ah, I see where we're going with
Yeah.
this.
And guess what? It's way more common than you might think.
Oh, absolutely. It speaks to how literature builds upon itself, Authors aren't just creating in a vacuum. They're part of this huge conversation that spans centuries. It's like a literary homage.
Exactly. So Dr. Rathod, he sent over a bunch of examples. We've got titles pulled from poetry, Shakespeare, even the Bible.
Fascinating stuff. It's amazing how those borrowed titles can really add layers of meaning to a work. Take Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls, for example.
Oh yeah, classic Hemingway.
It's actually drawn from John Donne's Meditation at Seventh, a powerful, powerful reflection on mortality.
Wait, hold on. Isn't that the one with No Man is an Island?
That's the one. And Hemingway takes that idea of interconnectedness and places it in the midst of war. Suddenly, the bell isn't just tolling for one person, it's tolling for all of us.
Right. So it's not just about individual death anymore. It's about collective loss and, like you said, interconnectedness. It really makes you look at the title in a whole new light.
Exactly. And Hemingway's not the only one drawing inspiration from poetry. What about Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men?
Oh man, that title always gets me so heartbreaking.
It actually comes from a line in Robert Burns's poem To a Mouse.
Hold on, really? Which line? I don't remember.
It's the one about the best-laid schemes of mice and men, often going awry.
Oh wow, yeah. I see it now. Talk about foreshadowing.
Right. Both Burns and Steinbeck are getting at the same idea, the fragility of dreams in the face of, life's harsh realities.
It's like, once you know the source of the title, it's like a secret code that unlocks a deeper understanding of the book. It's not just a phrase, it's a lens to view the story through.
I love that, a lens. And this borrowing of titles, it goes way beyond Western literature, too. Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart is a perfect example.
Oh, I remember reading that in high school.
Yeah.
Powerful book. It's about the clash between traditional Igbo society and colonialism.
Right, you got it. And the title. It comes from W.B. Yeats' poem, The Second Coming.
The Second Coming. Interesting.
The poem is full of apocalyptic imagery. A world spinning out of control, And Achebe uses that imagery to show the devastating impact of colonialism on Igbo society.
Whoa. It's like he's saying colonialism was this huge disruptive force, just like the upheaval Yeats describes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes us think about the parallels between spiritual and political collapses,
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff.
Man, a single title can hold so much meaning. It's incredible. But do you think there are ever times when borrowing a title maybe, backfires?
Backfires.
Yeah, maybe it sets up expectations for the reader that the book doesn't actually meet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's an interesting point. I mean, it's definitely possible. Sometimes a title might grab your attention because of the source, but then the book itself doesn't really deliver on that initial promise.
Right. So it's not always about a perfect match.
Yeah.
But even then, even if it doesn't quite work, it still gets people thinking and talking about the author's intentions, right?
Absolutely. It sparks a conversation. It makes us consider how the author is playing with our expectations, maybe even subverting them.
This whole thing has me thinking about some of my own favorite titles. What about Aldous Huxley's Brave New World? That's straight from Shakespeare, right?
Right. Again, from The Tempest, to be exact.
The Tempest, okay. What's the connection there?
Well, both Brave New World and The Tempest deal with utopian ideals and the dangers of unchecked power. But for readers who know The Tempest well, Huxley's title might have this, ironic undertone.
Ironic. How so?
Well, in The Tempest, Prospero eventually gives up his magic and returns to the so-called Brave New World of Milan. But Milan isn't actually so great. It's pretty corrupt, actually.
Ah, so maybe Huxley is hinting that his Brave New World isn't so brave after all.
Exactly. It's like he's inviting us to question the very idea of utopia. And guess what? We've got one more example. Even the Bible gets in on the action.
No way. The Bible. Which book?
Steinbeck does it again, this time with East of Eden.
East of Eden. Rings a bell, but I can't quite place it.
It's a reference to the story of Cain and Abel, good versus evil, choice and consequence, all that.
Oh, wow, of course. I read East of Eden way back in high school, but I totally missed that connection. It's amazing how much richer a book can become when when you understand those layers of meaning embedded in the title.
Isn't it? It's like discovering a hidden dimension to the story. And that's what's so fascinating about this whole tradition of borrowing titles. It's an invitation to reread, to discover new connections, to join a conversation that spans centuries.
So next time you pick up a book, don't just skim over the title. Really think about it. Does it sound familiar? Does it ring a bell from somewhere else? If so, what might that connection tell you about the book you're about to read? What titles from our deep dive today got you thinking? What connections might you want to explore further? Happy reading, everyone.